Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time, and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. We like to move quickly through these calls and bottom line the information for you. Before we get started, by the way, today is May 4th. I want to get the date there so people don't get confused about the calls on YouTube. You can, of course, select the date you wish to listen to, but, of course, the most recent call would be today's call. The other thing I wanted to mention before I forget it is that I will not be here next week. There will be no call next week. The family is on vacation, and perhaps Murphy's Law will kick in, and since I'm not here, maybe something really good will happen in Iraq next week, and I'll be forced to get on here and discuss something. But we'll have to see how that plays out. So what we like to do in these calls is spend a few minutes talking about the situation in Iraq, since we consider the Iraqi Dinar to be the linchpin for the potential revaluation of some of these other currencies. A few minutes talking about the program we put in place to assist you, and then we go to a Q&A. One thing about the Q&A, and I want to apologize for last week, they changed the format on me, and I'm kind of an analog guy in a digital world, even though I do work through these conference calls, and I was having difficulty with the Q&A. Hopefully I've got that issue resolved. This new format, as far as I'm concerned, rather peculiar, but it is what it is. So let's first talk about the situation in Iraq. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information we believe to be relevant. And, of course, the most relevant piece of information would be a window for the potential reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. At this point in time, despite the obvious confusion on some levels in Iraq, the reinstitution could happen at any time, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit more detail. I want to talk first about two issues. First, what's going on in Parliament, and second, the CBI operations. Now, as you know, we'll deal first with the Parliament. As you know, the Sadrists were in an impasse with the coalition framework, and so the Sadrists decided to give the coalition framework 40 days to form a new government. A lot of people thought that that was capitulation on the part of the Sadrists, but it was probably a rather Machiavellian move, because the 40 days is nearly up. As a matter of fact, they've got hopefully a scheduled vote to form a new government on May 7th, which is just 3 days from now. And the coalition framework is having some difficulty forming a new government or coming to agreement about who the individuals should be. Now, if there is a failure of the coalition framework to establish a new government, a couple of things can happen. One thing that can happen is it can all fall back to the Sadrists, who will then make the selections that they wish to make. Or, and what I think very well may happen, is the default position is just going to be to allow the current government to remain as the caretaker government. Now, that means we'd have Salih as the president of the republic, Kademi as the prime minister, Al-Abusi as the speaker, and Mustafa Ghaleb as the governor of the CBI. So, in my personal opinion, that's a pretty good group. I'd be very happy to see them remain. The problem, allegedly, is that the caretaker group does not have the constitutional authority to do things like change the exchange rate and other governmental functions. I don't know if I completely agree with that. Cite the fact that 2 or 3 times in the last 15 years, caretaker governments have pretty much run the country for nearly a year. I think one was there for 6 months, one was there for 9 months, one was there for a year. And in addition, if the caretaker government should proceed with things like the reinstitution of the dinar in country through the CBI, what are the coalition framework going to do? They violated the Constitution by failing to form a new government within the allotted time period. So are they really going to be able to go to the court with clean hands and say that the caretaker government cannot proceed because, in their opinion, it's not constitutional? I don't know that they're going to be able to persuade the court there. Remember, they went to the court with all of their allegations of election fraud, and they got pretty much shot down on all of that as well. So we'll just have to see how that proceeds. Now, before we get into a little bit more about the CBI, I want to talk about something that many of you may not be aware of. It's called the ISO 20022. Now, what is that? That is the International Standardization Organization, established nearly a decade ago. It is literally the international vehicle for the global transition from fiat-based to asset-backed Basel III compliant currencies. And they basically announced that they've completed all of their work on April 22nd of this year. The CBI, Central Bank of Iraq, has announced that it is now in compliance with the ISO 20022, and they're prepared for the creation of an asset-backed digital currency. Now, the good news there means that the CBI says that they're in compliance with just about everybody and everything, and they're ready to proceed with the reinstitution of their currency. The bad news for those that do not understand or are not prepared for a digital currency is that the central bank digital currency is basically a control mechanism. When the digital currency is released, they are initially not going to do some of the things that they will be able to do in order to control the populations of various countries. But certainly they've established a digital currency so they can, over time, completely control the currency, its liquidity, its use, their ability to freeze or confiscate it, and that's not good news. Now, we're going to get into this when we talk about the program we put in place to assist you. But there is a way to get around a digital currency. That is by transitioning to income-producing tangible assets and by protecting those assets in our trust package. But again, I'll get into that in more detail. I also wanted to mention a recent statement made by the IMF. The statement they released urged Iraq to, quote, adjust and strengthen its currency. Now, the translation here is that they want Iraq to reinstitute their currency so that the currency can be revalued globally. That does not mean that they want the CBI to adjust their currency from the current 1450 to back to 1190. It means they want a legitimate reinstitution of the currency, meaning at the very least it's got to come out at a slight premium over the U.S. dollar, or at least 1-to-1 with the dollar, so that the Iraqi citizen can utilize their own currency rather than the U.S. dollar. It also means that once the currency reinstitutes, the IMF will be able to revalue it globally. And we're talking at the very least north of $3, and some say even possibly north of $4. And that literally could happen at any time. And the reason I say that, and after this one statement here, I'm going to move on to the program we put in place to assist you. This statement, which was uttered by the IMF and, of course, was readily agreed to by the other international agencies, this statement was made with the knowledge that Iraq may be operating with a caretaker government for the balance of 2022. So that is why, in my opinion, it doesn't matter whether a new government's fully formed or not. I do not think that this is all going to come to a halt because Iraq is operating under a caretaker government, particularly since it's done so in the past, and particularly since the CBI has the ability to operate unilaterally without the approval, knowledge, and consent of the government. So that's where we stand today. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the program we put in place to assist you, because this is important information for those of you that have currencies, and even those of you that understand the implications of a digital currency and how you need to divert your wealth to assets and entities like trusts in order to disallow the government to control the currency. Because the currency is what you need to exchange for all goods and services. And so you need to regain control. And again, the way to do that is to move to income-producing tangible assets, as well as other tangible assets that can offset inflation, and then to utilize an entity like our trust to protect your privacy, anonymity, and control. When we decided to put our program together over a decade ago, we knew that most Dinarians were simply hardworking Americans, and actually people in other countries as well, who for the first time would be in a position of having the daunting task of managing a substantial amount of wealth. So the program we put in place was done in order to help you manage that wealth. Now, aside from establishing this trust, if you are a holder of dinar and other currencies, a trust which must be established prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies, again, something I'll get into in a little bit more detail. But again, this is also for individuals that have other assets that they anticipate a substantial increase in wealth, or individuals that have a substantial amount of their money in currencies, in banks, or in financial assets. You're, again, going to need to transition to tangible assets, and we'll be explaining that in a little bit more detail. But first, I want to start with the various entities that you can establish to provide some privacy, some asset protection, and in so doing, explain to you why our trust package is probably the best asset protection available domestically and far superior to your other options. And so let me touch on those options. For example, individuals can establish entities like LLCs and sub-S corporations, and they can provide some level of asset protection, but primarily by dividing personal assets from business assets. The problem here is twofold. First, possession of these currencies is a personal asset. And second, courts have ruled that LLCs and sub-S corporations that are owned in the majority by a single individual or closely held group can be pierced for civil litigation. So they're not going to be appropriate for your needs. Some individuals have established something called a revocable living trust, sometimes referred to as a living or loving trust. Now, these trusts are statutory animals designed to allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate, and if properly structured, substantially reduce and in some cases even eliminate the federal estate tax. But the revocable living trust, living or loving trust, can provide no privacy or asset protection. So they're going to be inappropriate for your needs. Some individuals have established single irrevocable trusts. They certainly provide more protection than the LLC, the sub-S corporation, or the revocable trust. But even the single irrevocable trust has a flaw, and it's this. All of your assets are housed in the one single trust. So if any asset within that trust is involved in civil litigation, that would necessarily bring all of the other assets and net worth into that litigation as well, because they're all owned by that same legal person or entity. The solution is to establish a package of irrevocable trusts, and I'm going to explain in more detail how that would work. But for those of us that hold dinar and these other currencies, in order to maximize the protection, you need to establish this trust package prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. And I'm going to review with you the reasons why. First, and I stated this earlier, by establishing this trust package, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. That's because the assets within this trust package are sealed, and no one will know your actual holdings or net worth. Second, by establishing this trust package, you'll be able to avoid IRS scrutiny because you will have successfully transferred the taxable event of this revaluation from yourself personally to the trust. If you are holding these currencies in direct title when they revalue, the IRS computers will probably spit out an audit. And with the potential magnitude of this revaluation relative to your prior year's earnings, you're probably going to be looking at a full-blown 6-year audit. Such an audit would be time-consuming. It would certainly be frustrating because it's come along at the precise time that these currencies have revalued, and there's many other things you'd rather be doing with your time. And third, the cost of a 6-year IRS audit would probably be substantially more than the cost of our trust package. On the other hand, if your trust is in force and you have assigned your currencies to our trust package, you will have successfully transferred the taxable event from yourself to the trust. Now, this is important for two reasons. First, there's less than a 10% chance of an IRS audit if this taxable event were to occur within a rather sophisticated trust package such as ours. The IRS has got a reputation for going after the low-hanging fruit. Second, and most importantly, even if the IRS determines to audit your trust, they can't do a 6-year audit. Why? Because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself, and there may be substantial tax benefits to this occurring within the trust as opposed to outside of the trust. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package is if you plan on gifting currencies to family and friends. Philanthropic gifting can always be done on the tax-preferred basis, either pre- or post-RV. But in order to avoid a substantial 40% federal gift tax, you're going to need to give currencies to family and friends prior to the revaluation. Now, if you're giving to individuals that you have no problem giving them the currency to exchange for themselves, or giving them the lump sum after you have negotiated the exchange, that can be accomplished outside of the trust with a standard gift letter. But if you are hesitant for any reason to give any of these individuals the post-RV lump sum, you can gift to them through the specially designed gift subtrust that we've established as part of our package. And because you're gifting through this gift subtrust, you will have complete control of the post-RV proceeds, meaning that you can manage, invest, and distribute the money to these individuals as you deem appropriate. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it's been structured in such a way as to bypass the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. I'll give you two quick illustrative examples. Example number one, or situation number one. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs an estate of $25 million. Now that estate must go through probate, a process that ordinarily can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. But probate is a public disclosure process, meaning that the general public will be aware of the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much each stands to inherit. So if anyone feels they have a legitimate claim against you, your estate, or your heirs, they can simply file that claim with the probate court. And that could tie the estate up for years, and in some cases even decades. And your heirs will either have limited access or no access at all to their respective inheritance until the probate process is completed. Then there's something called the federal estate tax. This is the tax that the federal government would assess in order for that estate to be transferred to heirs. Under current law, approximately $10 million of that $25 million estate would bypass any federal estate tax, but the balance could be taxed as much as 65%. Now, this scenario is not only unacceptable, it's completely and totally avoidable. How? Scenario number two. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, you assign those currencies on paper to our asset protection trust package. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs that very same estate of $25 million, but this time protected in our asset protection trust package. As a result, there will be no probate, there will be no public disclosure of your estate, your heirs will have immediate access to their respective inheritance, and the federal estate tax will be zero, saving your heirs as much as 55% of their inheritance. The fifth reason you'd want to establish this trust package pre-RV is for some very specific asset protection benefits. One pre-RV, one post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust package will allow you to circumvent something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Now, what does that mean? Under our system of civil procedure, you can only be sued for what you actually own in direct title or the value of property at the time you transferred it out of title to an entity like our trust package. So let's take the previous example from before. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer the currencies to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. You begin to live a lifestyle more reflective of your newfound wealth, and a couple of years down the road, someone sees that you're living rather comfortably and decides for whatever reason that they're going to sue you. Well, this prospective plaintiff has a couple of problems. First, he or she better have a very strong case and very deep pockets, because this trust package has been structured in such a way as to make it extremely expensive and extremely time-consuming to pursue civil litigation. But second, and most importantly, once any prospective plaintiff learns that pursuant to the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, the only thing they could ever win by way of a civil award would be $5,000, the value of the currencies when you transferred them out of title and to our trust package, and none of the post-RV value of $25 million, there will be no lawsuit. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop-loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you have acquired this wealth. This protection is accomplished through a legal strategy called segregation of assets. This is why we have established a package of trusts This is why our package is the best asset protection available domestically, and I'll give you an example of how this would work. Let's use the same example. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer the currencies to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. Now that you have $25 million in trust, you decide to make some purchases. So you purchase a larger primary residence, a vacation home, perhaps a half a dozen rental properties for tax write-off and additional cash flow, a couple of cars, a boat, and let's say an RV. But as you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate subtrust, which is part of our package, to be managed by your master trust, the initial trust that you assigned your currencies to. Now, how does this protect you from future bad acts? Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say one day you're driving one of your new cars. You have an accident. The accident is clearly your fault, and tragically someone is seriously injured or even killed. Well, the family of the victim is going to want to sue you. But remember, civil suits are about monetary awards, and you don't legally own anything. So the plaintiffs would be left to sue the owner of the car that you were driving. Well, who owns that car? One of your subtrusts, of which you are merely the beneficiary. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy that protects it. In that scenario, the car insurance carrier will negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family. You will not be involved in those rather unpleasant negotiations. The car insurance carrier will repair or replace your car, making you whole. And this is important. All of your other assets and net worth are safely protected in the other subtrusts. Why? Because under the law, those separate subtrusts are separate legal entities or persons having nothing whatsoever to do with the accident in question, meaning that the plaintiff would have no standing to pursue those other separate legal entities. So your trust package works very much the way a commercial barge would work, where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. Why? In the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and the barge will never sink. Now, all of these benefits are lost to you if you do not establish your trust package prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. Now, there is another benefit, and it's this. The pre-RV establishment of this trust package is phase 1 of our turnkey program. Phase 2 is all of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you if you are, in fact, the holder of one of our pre-RV asset protection trust packages. I'll just make mention of one of our Tier 2 or Part 2 of our program. And that is that Trusts Unlimited will be sponsoring a post-RV seminar to be held approximately 30 days after the global revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar. Now, present at that seminar will, of course, be the staff of Trusts Unlimited. And by the way, let me mention that our plan is for this seminar to be held in Disney World, Florida, in Orlando. Now, if things get a little squirrely with the COVID, and it becomes extremely difficult for us to function normally at Disney, then we will have the DVD done in office that will be made available to everyone on our website, and of course we'll email it out to all of our existing clients as well. But present at that seminar will of course be the staff of Trusts Unlimited to assist you with the management and funding of your trust packages. Many of our clients have already expressed desire post-RV to establish scholarship funds, foundational trusts, special needs trusts, charitable remainder trusts, and even the more complicated 501c3 nonprofit and offshore trusts. And the proper way to, of course, fund those entities is with a direct transfer of funds from your asset protection trust to those newly formed entities. We'll also have our tax specialists available as well, because our clients want to be apprised of all of the more sophisticated tax strategies that the wealthy utilize on a regular basis. We'll also have our independent fee-based wealth managers there to assist you as well. As I stated earlier, and particularly if the central banks move to a digital currency, you're going to want to transition as much of your net worth as practicable to income-producing tangible assets or dormant tangible assets that will offset inflation. And there are a number of reasons that you're going to want to do this. First, you want to avoid control of a digital currency. Second, you want to move out of those assets that are going to suffer from the inflation that's going to be created by the creation of all of this new wealth. Third, we know statistically that 95% of all windfalls, however large and from whatever source, are lost within 3 to 5 years due to inexperience, mismanagement, and fraud. So in addition to the protections offered to you through our trust package, you can utilize either the fee-based managers that we introduce you to, or you can certainly find a good fee-based manager that can assist as well. The important thing is that for those of us that have purchased these currencies, and many of us have waited for over a decade for this revaluation, we don't want to have gone through all of this only to lose this wealth in a matter of years or even months by working with individuals who don't have your best interests at heart. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV, financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, and has the authority to manage all of the other sub-trusts. One gift sub-trust if you plan on gifting currencies to family and friends and wish to control the post-RV proceeds for their benefit, which sub-trust can be converted at any time to a standard sub-trust, and 8 additional standard sub-trusts to hold assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. In addition, if you wish to create more than the 10 trusts, we can accommodate that as well. Now, this was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, a package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided over a decade ago to work with Dinarians, we knew that that price tag was going to be unaffordable for many. So by basically simplifying the trust package, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. Now, there are several ways you can pay for that. If you pay us up front, we'll discount the price further to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. If that's not possible, we even have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which sum would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust package to you. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar occurs, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. Now, with this approach, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for getting their trust in force and their affairs in order pre-RV should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would actually be less than the $100 a month you'd pay under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Our objective is to help you get your trust in force and your affairs in order for all of the reasons that we've stated here. Now, I'm going to be going to the Q&A in just a minute. And once again, I hope I can get this thing to work because I was having trouble with it last week. I will apologize in advance if for some reason I can't get this thing to work. But before we go there, we'll be giving you our contact information, but I want to tell you a little bit about Trusts Unlimited and why, if the things we've discussed here are important to you, you should contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. The package does include everything you need should you decide to proceed with the establishment of a trust. But again, you're under no obligation to do so. The package has a lot of information about us, about the currencies and the revaluation, about these trusts. You can review that information. Contact us by phone or email if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you in every way. There will be no consultation fee. But again, the reason we've established this trust package is very simple. Because under our system of civil procedure, anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. And it's at precisely those times in life that you need and want control that you've lost that control. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are, of course, investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 reason people lose wealth in the aggregate societally is through identity theft. And with the growth of the internet and technology, identity theft becomes more and more of a problem every day. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you anticipate a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre- and post-RV as we understand them. So again, thanks for listening to the call. I'm going to open the Q&A in just a moment. Before I do, let me give you our contact information. As a matter of fact, let me try to get the Q&A open and see if I get this thing to work here today. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. And while I'm waiting for any potential questions, let me give you our contact information. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. You can go to our email, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Or you can go to our open phone service, which is 307-274-4122. Again, if you contact us for our initial package, we'll be happy to send it to you. It does contain, again, everything you need if you wish to proceed, but it has a lot of information there. You're under no obligation to proceed. You can contact us if you have any questions. We do seem to have one caller in the queue. Let's see if I can open this up. That's area 603. That's 603. Go ahead.
Hello, Jim. It's Don.
Yes, Don. I recognize the number. How you doing, Don?
Okay, buddy. How you been? Okay.
Hey. Okay. How are you and your wife?
Well, Jane's doing real good. You know, she had a stroke last year, but she's just 99%. You know, she just walks a little slower than she used to, but that way I could catch her. That's all.
Good to hear. I'm glad you're doing.
Okay, what I wanted to ask you, there's one of the gurus, we call him Pepperoni. You may read some of his stuff. He says there's going to be a LOP. What is that, and is that going to happen, and is that detrimental to us?
Okay, they talk about a LOP and a redenomination. I'll be honest with you, I have a really hard time understanding the difference, and what I mean by difference is how we get to a different place. they're getting into the weeds a little bit. He also, that's Caparoni, he also said that he didn't, a while back, that he didn't think this could happen because of the money supply, and now he's backed off on that. The only thing we all seem to agree on at this point is that the holdup are the radical Shia within the coalition framework, and that's because they're pro-Iranian wealthy bombers who want Iraq to remain their private little piggy bank. So, and they're doing, they've lost all their juice. So, it doesn't matter to me whether it's technically a LOP or it's technically a redenomination. Here's how it's going to work. When they reinstitute the currency, those of us outside of Iraq, whether we are a central bank, whether we are a hedge fund, whether we are individual investors, the 3 zeros will be recognized when we go to the bank. Now, that will not be the case in Iraq. The 3 zeros don't exist for the Iraqi citizen who still has some of the provisional 3-0 currency under their mattress. But as I said before about the money supply, by eliminating the 3 zeros in the country of Iraq, a $25,000 note becomes a dinar, becomes a 25 dinar note. A 10,000 dinar note becomes a 10 dinar note. For us, when we go to the bank and we do our exchange, the 3-0 currency is retired, so there's not a money supply issue. You and I are going to be able to go to the bank with a 10,000 dinar note, and it'll be recognized as a 10,000 dinar note, and that's all we need to be concerned with.
Okay, but won't the Iranian nationals then be able to leave the country, take the dinar, and exchange it in the United States or Canada or some other country and get dollars for it?
That is why they are repatriating the money right now. They're not going to be able to pull that. An Iraqi national is not going to be able to go to an international bank outside of the country and do the exchange. And one of the reasons, by the way, one of the reasons that they devalued the dinar in country was to collect them. They became worth less and less. So just as in this country we have inflation, so one of the arguments is purchases have increased slightly because people are afraid that the dollar is going to be worth less and less every year, so they're getting their bang for the buck by buying stuff now. Well, they did it in Iraq. They said, well, we're going from 1190 to 1450, and then they said we're going to go from 1450 to 1600. So they were getting these people to basically exchange the currency for the U.S. dollar or spend it because it was devaluing in country. So that's what's going on there.
Okay, I got you on that. Now, what is this? One of the other gurus are talking about Tier 3, Tier 4 banks, all that nonsense. What is that all about? I mean, you go to the bank exchange. What's this stuff?
It's got to do with the pecking order for the exchange. Now, I'm just giving you my personal opinion here. I don't buy the tiers. I don't buy the contract rates. I don't buy a lot of what they're talking about. What I think is going to happen is you're going to go to the bank along with everyone else. You're going to be able to some degree, negotiate the transaction fee and the exchange rate, but you're not going to get better than the street rate. Now, the banks might play some games with you. It's there may be a little bit of a haggling. On the other hand, you may walk into a bank and the bank's going to say, there's a 2% transaction fee. This is our rate. Take it or leave it. And that may happen. But, I mean, even at $3, I mean, just do the math on that. I mean, the profit margin is extraordinary. So, I think we're all going to be in good shape.
Very good. Very good. Okay, well, thanks for clarifying some of that, Jim. I appreciate it. How's your daughter doing, by the way?
She's doing fine. As a matter, for those don't know, she was in a car accident. In about she's had to wear a back brace the whole time. In 2 weeks, that back brace comes off. So she said it's just in time for the beach. So yeah.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, I went and bought her.
Great.
Yeah, I told her we're going to put her in a Humvee, and I want her in bubble wrap. No more accidents.
There you go. There you go. Okay, thank you so much, Jim. We love you, brother. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Okay, take care. Yeah, right. Take care now. Bye-bye. Okay, our next caller is area code 301. That's 301. Go ahead.
Hello, Jim. This is Wanda in Atlanta, Maryland. And my question is, I bought the packet, and it sounds like a very good packet. So once the revaluation comes, my question is, when purchasing any new vehicle or property, you're saying that it is going into the asset packet under individual things. So,
yeah, I understand.
So if I purchase a house, it goes under. How do I separate? That's my question.
Okay, here's how this would work. Whether you're purchasing a home, a car, or some other substantial tangible asset, physical asset, you'd contact us and say, okay, we made a deposit on a home. We're going to be closing in 28 days. We wish to create a sub-trust for, and let's say you're buying it, you're from Maryland, Ocean City, Maryland. You're going to create the OCM Real Estate Trust. We will create that trust. When you go to closing, the owner of that property will be the sub-trust by name. You will be the beneficiary because it's your home. It's for your benefit. And that's what you will do. So at closing, again, the title will be titled to your sub-trust with you as the beneficiary. And that would be the case with a car or a boat or anything of that nature that you wish to protect in a sub-trust.
Okay. So if I decide I want to start a nonprofit organization, how would I go about that?
Then you're going to create a completely separate entity. You contact us or a local attorney if you would prefer, and tell them what you want to do. The reason you might contact us initially is because we're the ones that helped you establish the asset protection trust, and we would be involved to some degree if there were some technical issues that had to be dealt with. But and also, once the dinar reinstitutes the country, the weekly calls will no longer be market trust, but they'll be dealing with issues like this. There'll be Q&As with our attorney. You call them and ask specific questions about what you specifically plan to do now that the currency is reinstituted and the revaluation could literally happen at any time.
Okay, so we are, once everything is reinstituted, we are assigned the lawyers to each packet.
You'll contact us, and we can assist you, or if we cannot assist you, for example, if you called our firm and said, okay, and one of the things we'll discuss is wills, powers of attorney, medical directives, and all of that. Well, that's done on a state-by-state basis. So while we handle the trust, all of the documents like that, wills, powers of attorney, et cetera, would need to be done with a local attorney in your state. So we'll clarify all of that again after the reinstitution.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, Wanda, take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
Okay, our next caller is area code 312. That's 312. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. It's Les. Good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on, Les?
Well, I'll tell you what went on last week. I was the only caller to ask a question. And when you went to do it, everybody got cut off.
Well, I don't know if –
yes, please.
I hate it when they change this format. I'm just no good at this. I mean, my 3-year-old grandchild could run this thing better than me. It's just, it's just.
Well, we're going to start. We're going to employ that 3-year-old then, huh?
Yeah. I'm doing my best.
I just called to say hi. Didn't want anything. I had a question last week, but I don't remember what it was.
You'll remember as soon as I click you off.
Okay. All righty. Yeah, I didn't want anything, Jim. Thanks. I got on late. I got to go back and listen to your introduction.
Okay. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And I'd like to say hi to Don and the professor.
Will do. Take care now.
All righty. Take care.
Our next caller is area code 405. That's 405. Go ahead.
Well, I have a couple little ones here. One of them was I have one of those living trusts, as you call it. I established that shortly after my wife passed away back in 2014. And I've kept it there, but I have got your trust. Plus the fact, too, that it doesn't matter, I suppose, if I go ahead and work on adding these things to it now. And,
well, now that you mention that, I myself have a revocable living trust. It was established, a long time ago. So my net worth, my holdings currently are in my revocable living trust. However, my currencies are assigned. I've established this trust package, our Trust Unlimited package for myself. My currencies are assigned to that. After the revaluation, I will then assess my assets in my revocable living trust, the ones that I will either sell what's in there, give what's in there away, but the things I wish to retain will then go to the sub-trusts in the Trust Unlimited package. So we have a lot of clients that actually have revocable living trusts, and we've all, when we've had these discussions, we've all agreed, leave that alone, don't touch that, establish our trust package, assign the currencies. After the revaluation, you'll have a better handle on exactly how you want to handle everything in the revocable trust, and the things you wish to retain, just transfer to our trust package, Post-RV.
Okay, thank you. The one thing was these, I get to listen and then I forget what I'm going to ask. Yes, the assignment of the currencies to the trust, you said to modify it on one of the calls, and I couldn't write that fast. Is there a way that you could either put it on the thing or send it to me?
Let me clarify that. If you are assigning currencies, you utilize our assignment form that you got with your trust package. The question had to do with individuals that had gold or silver or cryptocurrencies. What I suggested they do is take our assignment form as a format, pull out the second paragraph, which specifically refers to the dinar and other pre-valued currencies, and then put in there the language pertaining to what they have, whether it's cryptos or bullion or something like that. So that was only if you were talking about a separate asset.
Okay.
All right.
But any of the other financial things, like you have money and some things that you have to file, the dividend thing with the tax people every year.
Well, that's why you don't want to put those in trust until after the revaluation.
Okay.
Okay?
I won't worry about that until then.
Yes, sir.
And
okay.
I think that was most of the questions. And I do. I was on the call where everybody got cut off, so
sorry about that.
Don't worry about that.
I hope I did that.
Well, that was a pretty short call.
Well, if I did that today, I will have to go to free conference call, and tell them that if they're going to completely change the format, then send some instructions for slow learners like me. But you take care, okay?
And me. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir. Take care. Bye-bye now. Well, that was our last caller for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for listening to the call. If the things we've discussed here today are of interest, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. Once again, it contains everything you need if you wish to proceed. but you're under no obligation to do so. You can review the package, contact us by phone or email if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. There will be no consultation fee. Our next call that was ordinarily scheduled for next Wednesday, you can check in. Perhaps one of our attorneys will pick up on it, but I don't expect there'll be a call next week. However, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, I'm just going to have to find a way to at least get out an emergency email, if not, and schedule an emergency call. But failing that, we will be back in 2 weeks on a Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Have a great week. Bye-bye.